Hello once again, loyal viewers and outstanding subscribers. It's Wild Elf 26, and I'm in the middle of a few projects right now. But what I wanted to do was touch on something, because recently we had May the 4th. And as you know, I do an obligatory May the 4th be with you video once in a while, which I did short form. And I've always found the Star Wars franchise amusingly entertainment. And even though I was born the same year the first Star Wars movie ever came out, my sci-fi, the one that I mainly go to, the one that I find great solace in, has always been Star Trek. That's right. I'm a big fan of the TNG era Star Trek, and I'm definitely a big fan of the TOS Star Trek. That's the Shatner era Kirk. And I'm more of a fan of the Shatner era Kirk, obviously, than the Chris Pine Kelvin attempts. And let me show you here. As you can see, yeah, I'm big on the Picard era as well. And some people don't like Star Trek Nemesis, and it has its points. If they do a special director's cut of that with today's modern effects, they could probably greatly improve the, let's say, the similarities between Picard and the villain character, especially with these new breakthroughs with deepfake technologies. But when it comes to the reason Star Trek struggles, and they've been struggling ever since they came into the TNG era from the TOS Kirk era. And one of my favorite Kirk era movies was not The Undiscovered Country, it was The Final Frontier. That was the scene where Spock was sitting in the gunner's seat of a Klingon ship, and he was so happy to see Spock, he went to hug him, and Spock said something about, "Please, Jim, not in front of the Klingons." But yeah, that was great. And you'd be surprised, there's a lot of 20-somethings and 30-somethings out there that are actually big Shatner-era Kirk fans. And you can look for that on Google and on YouTube search. You can type in Shatner 30-somethings that are fans of Shatner-era Kirk, you know. But you could probably word that in a way that's more efficient. But what it seems that the Paramount, CBS, Star Trek has the hardest time understanding what they have, what they made. Example, I was on board when they started the Scott Bakula Enterprise. They had come off of TNG and DS9, and the road looked good. And most true Trek fans prefer a utopian future Star Trek. They don't like that dystopian Kelvin timeline thing. They don't like that. Even if they did connect it with Laird Nimoy Spock, they just do not connect with it. They look forward. They want something with hope. Entertainment is to elevate your mood, not depress the living crap out of you. And for some reason, the Abrams-Kurtzman Trek just could not seem to understand that. They were coming off of it like they were diehard Star Wars fans. It's in the name Star Wars. There's conflict in space, war. You know, there's an era dystopia big time. But that's not what Trek was about. Trek was about trailblazing, adventuring into space, making alliances and friendships, and building the space community, the Federation. And the Kelvin Trek makers just simply never understood that. It's like the John Archer thing that I was on board with when it started. But there were some do's and do nots because it was a prequel. They saw Star Wars. Star Wars had success with the prequel trilogy, so they put a lot of budget toward Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise. And as they went on, they lost track. The moment they start losing continuity, it's a prequel. If anything is of the greatest importance in a prequel is continuity. You don't want to step on the toes of the films or series that it is a prequel of. And during the makings of Enterprise series, they totally lost sight of that, especially with the Time Wars, some of the Suliban activity. And the moment Romulans were brought in, I was out. That was a line that was crossed, and I was out. So I had washed my hands of the Star Trek Enterprise or Enterprise, Scott Bakula, John Archer series. Bakula is a great actor, but when they started writing episodes that brought in any kind of conflicts with the Romulans, I was just out the door. You see, you go back to Kirk era, to Shatner era Star Trek, and there was an infiltrator episode where a Romulan had come into Federation space, attacked some ships, attacked the Enterprise, and then was trying to escape back to Romulan space. And they had never seen a Romulan, according to Kirk. No one has ever seen one. This was when they had a previous war. It was when they didn't have sight-to-sight imaging, no view screen connecting to other ships. So they never saw a Romulan. So the NX that has a screen, it doesn't matter, because even though that ship now has a screen, it wasn't until the Kirk era that we finally saw a Romulan. And it was played by the same actor that played Laird Nimoy's Vulcan father. But once they started bringing Romulans into it, they're totally stepping on those toes. And I was out the door on Star Trek Enterprise at that point. And the Time War thing, too, I felt that they had gotten just too over-convoluted with that. And what they had was the makings of a really great series, but because of their lack of respect for continuity, story continuity within the series, that's what tanked the show. When you have creator teams that have a lack of respect for the material they're working with, they're going to ruin the franchise. And they pretty much did that there. And like I said, I'm a big Picard fan as well. TNG fan, let me clarify. The Star Trek Picard series, and spoiler alerts for anything that you don't already know, the Picard series, after they finally stopped the synthetics from calling whatever subspace creature it was through that rift, and with the help of Captain Riker and his fleet, and when Riker says, "Thank you, Captain, I'll leave you to it," and he leaves, and then, of course, after he's gone, Picard, expires. And here's the important thing, folks. Picard has actually expired. His Uridodyne syndrome and whatever else was afflicting him finally caught up to him in his age, and he transports down to the synthetic world, and he gives a brief goodbye to his friends, and he's gone. But through Dr. Soong's attempts, as well as his other friends that were there, to record his memorograms, his personality traits, Picard is basically cloned as a synthetic being. He has the attitudes, he has the memories of Picard. But make no mistake, it's a clone, it's a copy, not the original Picard. The original Picard died. His body is preserved and dead on that world. And that's where it should have been. That's where the series should have ended. He should not have been made into a synthetic clone. I'm certain that the John DeLance Q character in the next season, if it had been written slightly accurate to the series, he would have seen, oh, you're not quite Picard, are you? Let's fix that. And he could have went like this, and suddenly he had a brand new biological body, and probably pulled his soul back into it. But no. That's just how it went down, folks. Pardon me a minute. There's an equipment malfunction here. But as with saying, yeah, so my respect for the series overall, my respect for Paramount's handling of Picard, I was not thrilled with the synthetic Picard thing. Many people probably were not thrilled with that either. And at that point, the interactions, which had not been too favorable to the living Picard up to that point either, they really kind of undignified the character in the Picard series. And you would ask yourself, well, why would they go through all that trouble to do such a thing? And it's because Matalas and Kurtzman, and these are the usual suspects, the bad offenders, they proclaim their fandom, their extreme liking for TNG, but overall, anything Kurtzman usually touches, he puts this excessive take on things, and it's not good, They dramatized the return of the Enterprise D, which was basically a museum restoration because the star drive section was destroyed long ago. So they had a donor star drive section. That's the main hull that holds the warp engines. And they had the original saucer that they recovered from the crash site. And somehow they got it all ship-shape, pun intended. But if Kurtzman and Matalas were really the fans that they had claimed to be, then you, of course, are aware of the TNG finale, All Good Things, Part 1 and 2. Well, then Worf should have not just fully gray hair, he should have gray hair and striped black hair. As he did when they found him, in the time period that would have been equal to the time period that the Picard show takes place in. This also goes for Geordi would have the artificial eye implants. That would be standard. And Beverly would still be Beverly Picard. She kept the last name. She was a wife of Picard in the future. And apparently Riker got a demotion. In All Good Things, by that time period, Riker is an admiral. And he got to resurrect the Enterprise himself by admiral order. Had them not only resurrect it, but refit it. They had a third engine nacelle. They affixed a gigantic compressed cannon system under the main saucer. Someone said they called that Galaxy class the Dreadnought class of Galaxy class, but I could be mistaken about that. It looked kind of awkward, though. I think they could have added some new engines to it in a different way that would have made it look a little more, equalized, cool. But by adding that third one just sticking out like a dorsal fin, it kind of made it look weird. But I digress. My point was that Kurtzman and Matalas, claiming to be the big fans that they claim to be, didn't use any of these elements. Didn't even attempt to. Even the uniforms that were being used by the Federation during the All Good Things future phase, those should have been, that should have been what would be used in the Picard series. That's a big glaring fact right there, a huge plot hole, if you will. And part of the reason why I just really cannot enjoy the Picard series. I wanted to. I gave it a fair chance up until the end of that first season. And I don't know. I mean, if some of the actors had input in that, you know, that's fine and dandy. But even if that's so, then even they didn't understand the material that they've been working with for years. And that's kind of a shock, you know. You would think they perfect those roles, they create those characters, you know, that would be their babies, you know, they would want them to be intact. But I believe the majority of the blame is on Kurtzman. And that horrible Enterprise G idea, that was terrible. The Enterprise F made sense. It was a sovereign-shaped ship, but it was larger than the Galaxy class, which is great because the Enterprise E was only about the size of the Ambassador class, a ship that was noticeably smaller than the Galaxy class. And being that they're in an era where they're encountering enemies that have larger and larger starships, like the Voth, or the Daredex class Romulan warbirds, or even the Borg cubes, which were enormous. And let's not forget some of the other very large ships they encountered over the years. So this is definitely, you know, look at the Scimitar, for crying out loud. And I think they had problems in the Nemesis movie because the scale of the Enterprise E being ambassador sized, and then what they claimed that were the specifications of the Scimitar. Well, the sizing would have made sense if it had been the Galaxy class Enterprise, but not the ambassador size. So that big dramatic moment of the deliberate crashing into each other's ships, it wouldn't have looked right. I mean, it doesn't look right. The Scimitar is this enormous ship. It's supposed to be bigger than the Daredex class warbirds, the Riemann warbird Scimitar. And then you see the Sovereign sticking out of it when they collide into it, and it makes the Scimitar look much, much, much smaller than it should. They tried to make the Enterprise look larger than it should. And so I guess that series was kind of falling apart at the movie level before Kurtzman and Matalas ever started to touch the TNG storylines. But, you know, and I hear that Paramount's trying to do a reset. But what series are they resetting it to? Enterprise, the one that got the least viewership, the one that had the most messed up writing. Toward the final seasons of that show, they gave it a dreary wrap-up episode just to finish it off. Even the company didn't like it anymore. I mean, that's sad. So whoever's deciding to reset these things, don't reset it to Enterprise. Reset it to something popular, something that people didn't want it to go away. How about let's reset it to the events of DS9 after Cisco was gone. Let's see the follow-ups of the Star Trek universe from that point. Major Kira is now the commander of DS9. Quark on the promenade, now under extra scrutiny. And they did Quark pretty badly toward the finale episode, in my opinion, especially when you considered how much he contributed to helping them with the Jim Hadar and the Dominion and all that. But these are my opinions, of course. If your opinions are somewhat similar, then please let me know in the comments. Sometimes the only way I know you guys visited me, and I'm talking about my already subscribed, outstanding subscribers, is if you please comment in the comment section. And if you thought this video was of some mirth, and you'd really like some other people to maybe hear me out on them, then please use that share function to share this video with them. All right. Well, this is your good buddy, Wild Elf 26, and I'm not sure how long the video is. I wanted to go longer, but there was some interfering outside happening at just a critical moment when I had some other stuff lined up to go with the video. All right, guys. But live long and prosper. Wild Elf was born the same year that Star Wars was born, but Star Trek is the franchise that caught my heart. Always be a Trekker or a Trekkie, and my Starfleet uniform will always be Science Officer Blue. Have a good one, guys. This is Wild Elf 26, and be good to each other, and as usual, may the Triforce bless you all. Ha ha ha. Alrighty.